Welcome to Homebrewing Beer with Comstock Brewing. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Shay Comstock, and today we have a special guest assistant, 7-year-old Xavier South. He is my baby boy, and he is going to help us explain equipment since there's no actual alcohol involved except for Robbie and myself drinking it. He is allowed to be in this episode. Robbie, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking some of the Comstock Stout, and I'm drinking it out of upslope glass. So support the local brewer up in Boulder.
And I am drinking our own pumpkin beer, which is out of a Southern Tier Brewing glass. We've mentioned it many times in our podcast, out of Lakewood, New York, which is right across the lake from my hometown, Bemis Point, New York.
All right. You ready to get into this, Xavier?
Yeah.
You ready to talk about equipment?
All right.
So, Exie, what do you think the very first thing you need for home brewing is? What are these?
Beer bottles?
Beer bottles. Yes, look at this. Beer bottles. What do you think people need to do with them?
I think what they need to do with them is clean off the gunk out from the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Then make sure you have your beer ready.
Yes. So clean
Look
them
at that.
out.
We got him already knowing that you got to have that clean bottles, sanitized bottles. Right on.
Awesome.
I'm learning young.
Do you know what this thing is? This red thing?
It's a big giant thing that opens these.
Close. This is a beer capper.
Yes, it is. And these are beer caps. So,
Well, first of all, this is what you need to actually put the caps on the beer bottles.
yeah. So
I can do it, but it requires a little bit of force.
there's a magnet right down in the middle right there. Take a beer cap. You set it in there. It holds it on. You take your beer bottle. Put it right on the top. Clamp.
Yeah. See?
A little bit of pressure,
A
but
little bit of pressure, but
There you go.
not something X-Man and I can do.
so now we have a
No.
No.
empty cap bottle. But there you go. So yeah, definitely need a capper. And you
Any
need-
local homebrew shop will have these, or you can order them online. We have actually got different ones before. You can customize them, or you can just order some black ones, red ones to separate your beers. When you do several, like we do with the stout and the pumpkin at the same time with several batches going, it's really nice to have all one that's marked with a P for pumpkin, or S for stout, or just black caps.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Next.
on the list is you need a thermometer. It's a very important piece. I get it out of there, but just a standard thermometer that you'll get with your home brewing kit if you bought a kit, or you can just go online and buy it separately. But we definitely need a thermometer to keep track of our temperatures.
Absolutely. Now this looks like a thermometer, doesn't it?
Yeah,
But it's not.
It's called a hydrometer.
what's a hydrometer?
A hydrometer that measures the original gravity and final gravity of your beer. So you pour your beer in this big tube, fill it all the way up, and you drop this in there, and it floats. And when it floats, I should say your wort at this point, hits a certain spot on the edge, and you take that reading, and that's how you find out your gravity reading. So we're going to have a whole nother episode on how to use a hydrometer and how to make sure it's calibrated correctly and how to do complicated math to figure out your beer and how much alcohol's in there.
Hopefully, we can invite an expert on to the show to watch it. We're currently looking for female homebrewers as well. We've been all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything you can think of, looking for other female homebrewers. I had no idea it was this hard. So far, I haven't found any in Southern Colorado that aren't a industry brewer.
No.
Just a home brewer starting out, like myself.
All right, so another
Next
thing
up,
that you're going to need...
what do you think that is?
I think that's do you know, these little things that, the things where you see how much weight you
Yeah,
have?
it's
Yes.
a scale. Very good.
Yes, so
So-
when we weigh you, that's exactly the same thing.
Right, so this is going to measure in ounces your lightweight measurements. This isn't part of a standard kit, but something you're going to need because, you might need 2 ounces of hops for a batch, and maybe you bought a pound of hops. Well, you got to measure out 2 ounces, so you can use this to weigh out that. I do all grain, and I actually use this to measure out my grain when I do my 10-gallon batches. So
We just went to Bed Bath & Beyond and got it.
Yeah,
I'm sure
so-
you can order one online.
That's
So-
a tinier one.
Yeah, that's a smaller one than you stand on to
Yeah.
weigh yourself, huh?
Normally
All right.
What is this
big.
thing? What is that?
It's a tiny little cup.
It's a bong.
Well,
It's
it
more
looked.
than a bong. Oh, it's a bong. Where did that come
I'm
from?
supposed to say the awkward things each episode. This is not a tiny little cup. It's actually a stopper.
Yeah.
Explain what that's for.
This goes in the top of the carboy, and that's one of the piece. Ooh, that's one of the piece of equipment you're going to need for brewing. I better move some stuff here. I'm going to knock things over. So we'll talk about this while we're talking about the bong. So this is your 5-gallon carboy. This will come in your kits that you buy online, or you can pick them up at your local homebrew shop, or if you really want, start searching Craigslist in your local area. There could be a home brewer that's like, I'm not going to do it anymore, and they're selling these cheap.
Divorce or other bad things.
So you got to pick up a carboy. You notice this one has a handle on it, so that way you can pick it up. Now on the market,
every dime. Yeah. Get the handle.
Yeah, but now on the market they have almost like a cradle. It's like made out of straps that goes around this whole thing, and you got 2 handles on the side. So that would be even easier to probably carry these, because I mean when this is full, this is heavy. But you take the bone and push it right there. So
the only thing is, most of our carboys do not have this black strip in the front.
Oh yeah, that's just a thermometer, so you can keep track of the temperature on that. So is it necessary? No, but
is it nice?
Sure. So yeah,
it's nice.
Very nice.
It's very nice to keep track of the temperature. That's right. You gotta know the temperature of your beers when you're making them.
So it's not too hot and not too cold.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yep.
You're gonna be a home brewer when you're older.
All right. So next, while we're on the carboy and the bung, is a 3-piece airlock. Hopefully you can see that at home. But 1, 2, and then there's a cap. So you just fill this part up to the line with water. You put it in here, right in that hole that's in the bung. You put the other piece in, and then you put a cap. So now you sealed off your beer from the outside world. So as it's fermenting, the gas will escape, but nothing will go back in. So.
And if you listen to our podcast, you will find that we mention a lot of times sterilize, sterilize, sterilize. Check out the podcast for making sure you sterilize.
All this stuff has to be sterilized before you put it in there. All right, so that's carboy, the bung, the 3-piece airlock. So let's take the carboy away. We talked about all that.
All right.
Let's talk about where else the 3-piece airlock will go. Where did I put the bucket?
Bucket.
Right, bucket right there.
Bucket.
So when you buy your kit, you're going to get a 5-gallon. Actually, this one's a 6-gallon, I believe. There's different sizes, but you get a 5-gallon bucket. You're going to probably ferment in this, and on this lid, you can probably see me through the hole. Probably not. But there's a little small hole on that lid with a rubber grommet in it.
It smells like beer.
It does smell like beer.
It does smell like beer.
It smells pretty good. But on that little grommet, you put your 3-piece airlock. So again, when you're fermenting, you seal the lid on your bucket, you fill this airlock with some water, you put it in that hole, kind of just snug it in there. Don't push too hard, just snug it in, because otherwise you push the rubber grommet through and that's bad news. Seal that the lid down and let it ferment.
See some bubbles?
See some bubbles.
Are we done with that?
So we're done with that.
All right, next up.
What else we got?
This is pretty cool. If you want to mention this right now for...
It looks like something that you can play with in the sandbox.
It does look like something you can play with in the sandbox. But when we first started out, we did not have any of these. I have no idea is there a name for it? I don't know. There might be a technical name for the carboy holder.
Yep.
It's something we've just recently got at an intermediate stage. Watch out, bud.
Yeah, it's something we should have bought a long time ago, but I just got it. I just went
You can't
back.
buy everything when you start out, or else you go broke.
I just bought it. I just got another carboy. You notice this one doesn't have that handle on the top?
True that.
Because if that handle's on the top, this doesn't work. But what it does is when you clean these and you want them to dry out, you set it in there. Now your carboy will stand and it won't fall over. So
Very nice.
I think these are like $8. Good investment.
I think we got 2 for $8 actually.
Something like that.
Came in a group of 2. Next thing we are going to talk about on Comstock Brewing.
What's this little box?
Oh, that's just a box for holding stuff on top. We moved it.
We talked about sanitizing. Sterilizing. So let's talk about that. We happen to use Starstand. Starstand isn't paying us, but maybe they'll be soon. But excellent product. You take this solution, you dilute it out into
Accidental Lowe's
5
product placement for Lowe's. They aren't paying us either.
But I just have a food grade 5-gallon bucket here with a lid. There's no hole on the top. But this is what I mix the Star San in for sanitizing solution. So this is full. And it's just good to get a spray bottle too. Just take that solution, put it in your spray bottle. So that way if you need to just spray anything down, sanitize it, you got a bottle. So there's other products out there on the market, but make sure you have some way to sanitize all your stuff.
Ta-da!
Ta-da.
Funnel. The next piece of equipment that is vital to home brewing is the funnel.
Yeah.
And also, oh, it's not in there.
Yeah, usually there's a little screen in there.
No, this little screen is in there.
No,
The screen
not
is not in there.
He's somewhere.
That's okay.
But
We can still talk about the funnel and the uses of the funnel.
so, yeah. So like if we're adding adjuncts into the secondary, or if I'm making yeast starters, I use this funnel because sanitize it like we've been talking about. But you just put it in the top of the carboy, and then you can pour right in there without spilling. So
Perfect.
funnel, pretty easy.
Another piece of equipment right here. This bad boy that looks like,
Oh, hose sprayer, but not.
it does kind of look like a hose sprayer, doesn't it?
Do you know what this is called?
Do you know what it's called?
I'm gonna guess it's called a beer sprayer.
No,
It's not a beer sprayer.
it's an auto siphon.
Auto siphon.
So
Try to spell that, bud.
yeah. So this is another.
No, I can't spell that.
No. This is another piece of essential equipment that you're going to need because you're going to ferment in your bucket, and then when it's done fermenting, you got to transfer it over to your secondary, or if you're not moving it over the secondary, you got to transfer it over into your bottling bucket. So you put this down in there. You can see you got this tube. You run it to your other, and you just give this a few pumps, and when you do, create suction, and out comes the beer.
And this part is phenomenal. This little piece right here, when you put it on the side of your bucket, you can actually
Move that.
put it wherever you want so it doesn't suck up the gunk at the bottom of the bucket. Brilliant. Whoever came up with that,
So yeah,
What's the idea?
so before you move on to the next piece here, hold on.
Oh.
You're also going to use this auto
Hold
siphon to bottle your beer.
oh
or,
yes,
or if you're
oh,
kegging too, as
non-stop.
well. There's a fitting that we can put at the end of this tube.
We don't have that right now?
I don't have it out. It's not essential, but it's a nice, it's a little
Oh
bottle
my god,
filler.
worth every penny.
But you're going to use your auto siphon to bottle as well. So very important piece of equipment.
The
These,
beautiful thing about the piece that goes in there is that as you move from bottle to bottle, it stops the flow, less spillage.
these,
What are those?
these are useful because they can scrub inside these. It looks like they can't, but they actually can.
Yeah.
Because you can
Bigger.
see.
So
Do you want to
that-
show them how it
I don't
happens?
know. Can you get it in there? It's pretty
Oh,
tight.
it's not very wet
And
right
it's
now.
not wet. But yeah, that's your bottle brush. So
Right inside there. Usually they're wet and it goes in a little easier.
It
Yeah.
looks like
Awkward
it.
statement there. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's the bottle brush.
all right. So
And
yeah.
that's the one thing he is allowed to do.
He helps
with
us clean
helping with
bottles.
homebrewing is cleaning bottles.
All right.
Good job, bud.
So the bottle brush.
Nice.
So you saw this other one. You notice it's a little bit longer. Has a L at the end.
Mhm.
So, well, I guess I don't need to demonstrate it, but this is what you use to clean carboys. Stick it down the neck, and then when you get it in there, you turn it. So when you're in the carboy now, you can spin this, and you get this edge that hits the edge of the carboy to get all your funk out of there. So you definitely need this brush, and you need this brush as well. So
You
make
want to
sure
spend a
that's
little bit
indicated.
more money though. There are different types of carboy washers. I'm
Oh.
sure if you just Google carboy, you'll see a great little tool that takes a lot of the
Don't get rid of it.
Yeah.
a lot of the gunk out of it. Next thing we need, talking about pot.
Yeah, let's talk about
All
that.
right. So, as I have mentioned in several podcasts, my husband has absconded with my lobster pot. Anybody from the Northeast knows that this is what you cook lobsters in, but it has become a beer pot. So,
Yeah, this is 24 quart pot. So for somebody that's just getting started with home brewing and you're going to do 5-gallon batches, extract kits, this is perfect. So hopefully you have one just sitting around. You don't have to go buy one, but
still
You
your
gotta buy
wife or
one.
husband's pot, and
they're not too expensive. I don't know how much they run, but
they kind of are. But
in the grand scheme of things, though, this is more than just brewing beer. I mean, like I said, lobster pot. You can do a lot more. than
homebrewing
this.
will nickel and dime you to death. So what you do is every Christmas, every birthday, anytime you need a present, anniversary, whatever, you just ask for another piece of equipment, and then you get.
The lobster pot.
Yes,
Lobster
you do.
pot. All right. So, but real quick before we move on from pots, let's set that aside
Okay.
so I get some little room.
I can
Watch
do
the
that.
table, don't fall over. This one I bought when I went to 5-gallon all grain kits. This is a blanket, a 10-gallon. Woo!
It's
Hello.
This is a 10-gallon pot. You can see it's a lot bigger. And actually, I hope you can see that there's a fitting that's been welded on here. So
right there.
actually,
Right
you can probably see now it's from Spike Brewing. So shout out to Spike Brewing. They make some really good equipment. But yeah, there's a fitting on here, so you can put a ball valve on here. So as you graduate and get bigger batches, think about that as well.
That's the way to go.
I mean, I've seen some people know, they're getting started, but they know they're going to get to bigger batches, so they go ahead and buy this to begin with. You can still do a 5-gallon extract kit in this.
How you start is all based on your budget.
Yeah.
You can start off with absolutely minimal things like a little wand that we used for brushing. Then if you want to, you can go on and get an actual carboy washer. There's a lot of different stages that you can go through. What is our next stage we're going to talk about right now?
Next stage of...
I just realized you're wearing your Southern Tier Brewing hat and a Chautauqua Lake shirt right now. So anybody listening or watching, I should say, from Western New York, you'll understand that.
But
Nothing's
otherwise,
there.
that's
all of our equipment?
That's the equipment you needed
What do you
to
think,
get
guys?
started. Pretty easy?
Are we done?
Yeah, that's pretty easy. But don't forget to subscribe.
Welcome to Home Brewing Beer with Comstock Brewing. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Shay Comstock, and today we have a special guest assistant, 7-year-old Xavier South. He is my baby boy, and he is going to help us explain equipment. Since there's no actual alcohol involved except for Robbie and myself drinking it, he is allowed to be in this episode. Robbie, what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking some of the Comstock Stout, and I'm drinking it out of upslope glass. So support the local brewer up in Boulder.
And I am drinking our own pumpkin beer, which is out of a Southern Tier Brewing glass. We've mentioned it many times in our podcast, out of Lakewood, New York, which is right across the lake from my hometown, Bemis Point, New York.
All right. You ready to get into this, Xavier?
Yeah.
You ready to talk about equipment?
All right.
So, Exie, what do you think the very first thing you need for home brewing is? What are these?
Beer bottles?
Beer bottles. Yes, look at this. Beer bottles. What do you think people need to do with them?
I think what they need to do with them is clean all the gunk out from the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Then make sure you have your beer ready.
Yes. So clean
Look at
them
that.
out.
We got him already knowing that you got to have that clean bottles, sanitized bottles. Right on.
Awesome.
I'm learning young.
Do you know what this thing is? This red thing?
It's a big giant thing that opens these.
Close. This is a beer capper.
Yes, it is. And these are